Hello, I'm Steve Richards.
And I'm Jan Richards, and I'll read the scripture for today. It's from Gospel of John, chapter 13, verses 21 to 32, and it takes place near the end of the Last Supper. After he had said this, Jesus was troubled in spirit and testified, "I tell you the truth, one of you is going to betray me." His disciples stared at one another at a loss to know which of them he meant. One of them, the disciple whom Jesus loved, was reclining next to him. Simon Peter motioned to this disciple and said, "Ask him which one he means." Leaning back against Jesus, he asked him, "Lord, who is it?" Jesus answered, "It is the one to whom I will give this piece of bread when I have dipped it in the dish." Then dipping the piece of bread, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, son of Simon. As soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered into him. "What you are about to do, do quickly," Jesus told him. But no one at the meal understood why Jesus said this to him. Since Judas had charge of the money, some thought Jesus was telling him to buy what was needed for the feast or to give something to the poor. As soon as Jesus had taken the bread, he went out, and it was night. When he was gone, Jesus said, "Now is the Son of Man glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will glorify the Son in himself and will glorify him at once."
So it's late Thursday afternoon in Jerusalem, and Jesus and the 12 disciples are in the upper room eating the Last Supper. It's towards the end of the meal. Everybody's full, they're relaxed, and they're all talking to each other. Little did they know that Judas had already accepted the 30 pieces of silver, and that in just a few hours, Jesus was going to be arrested. Jesus was troubled when he announced that one of the disciples was going to be betraying him. The disciples said, "Oh no, not I." But who was it? Simon Peter asked John, who was sitting next to Jesus, to find out. Jesus replied to John in a low voice that whichever disciple that he was going to offer bread to was the betrayer. Jesus offered the bread to Judas. In the Middle East, to offer bread to somebody, when the host offers bread to a guest, it's a sign of friendship. It's interesting to note that the sign of friendship that Jesus gave Judas was signaled that Judas was the betrayer. So the scripture says that as soon as Judas ate the bread, Satan entered him. But I think the devil had already been there. Judas had already accepted the 12 pieces of silver, and Judas had decided that Jesus was not going to be the Messiah that kicked out the Romans. But maybe Judas was changing his mind. No, he was committed. His heart had been hardened. Jesus tells Judas to quickly go and do what he must do. The disciples didn't know exactly what was going on, but it was common, Jesus was the treasurer, that he would go and pay for the dinner or maybe go out and buy food that would be distributed to the poor the next day. And then the gospel says it was night. So it's after sundown now, which on the Jewish calendar marks the next day. So now it's Good Friday. Judas had left the light of Jesus to the darkness of sin. After Judas leaves, the events leading to the crucifixion start happening quickly. The next two verses, or the last two verses, the words glory and glorified are used 5 times, which is a little bit confusing. But John is saying that Jesus' glory will be revealed in his death and resurrection, and God's glory will be revealed in his love. And that ends the scripture for today.
Thanks be to God.
Thanks be to God, and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.